All right, so this one is called There's Never Just One Cat by Jay Wilburn. Just sent something to you in a whisper. All right, I'll check that out in a minute. All right. Mark ran and closed the front door before Brandon's cats had a chance to escape. There was only supposed to be one. That was what Mark agreed to before Brandon left on his trip with his new girlfriend. Mark blamed her for the cat. Of course, Brandon would do whatever she wanted him to do. He hadn't dated much recently, and she was skinny, tattooed, and witchy. Send it to you too, Tom Duffy. All right. All right. There were two cats now. Both were completely white and the same size. Both had those snotty collections of mucus in the corners of their eyes. Both shed fur visibly in the air. Mark decided to call. It went to Brandon's voicemail. Mark said, "Two cats, man. I told you that if she talked you into one cat, there would eventually be." Mark hung up on the call when the third white cat strolled into the living room. Okay. Not starting out too bad. Maybe this is better than I remember it being. "All right, I don't even know you anymore, man," Mark whispered, not to the cats. Maybe he was talking to his friend wherever he and the witchy girl were, put a comma there, miles and miles away. He decided just to feed them. Hopefully one bowl of dry food would be enough, because that's what Brandon had shown him when Mark agreed to this. He covered his nose and sneezed twice. There was already cat hair coating his sleeve, and all he had done was walk into the house. Mark tripped on his way to the kitchen. He bobbled on one foot, trying not to step on the multiplying animals. The third cat was all white too, but smaller than Pester and his clone. He hadn't stepped on a cat, though. There was a pile of action figures scattered and chewed on the floor. Serves you right for letting her talk you into 3 cats. 4 cats, my God. The fourth feline, to reveal itself, at least had some color to it. It was a bit larger and fatter than the 2 Pesters. It had a black ring around one eye that reminded Mark of a junkyard dog. This is the wrong kind of so we'll fix that. Now, no one will see me make that mistake except you guys, and they'll think I'm smart. Its front paws were black too. Other than that, it could have been a better fed version of the first cat the witchy girl had brought home and named Pester. The junkyard cat paced back and forth on the back of the sofa, purring loud enough for Mark to hear across the room. He stepped around the ruined action figures and said, "No pets today. You guys are going to make my eyes," let's say, "no pets or head scratches today. You guys are going to make my eyes swell shut." He took a moment to kick aside two of the shredded packages the figures had been extracted from with claws and teeth. He made sure to leave them out on the carpet where Brandon could see the price of becoming a cat person for himself. If the girl had talked him into getting rid of those instead of getting cats, Mark would probably like her more. This hissing sound turned him on his heels at the edge of the kitchen and out of his thoughts. A black cat with a white circle around one eye peered out at him from under the china cabinet and hissed one more time. This one could have been the negative image of the one on the couch. The hissing cat looked thinner, though. Mark glanced at the couch to find 2 additional cats staring at him. One was a small calico. The third was all white. He was tempted to say this was Pester, except it looked smaller and didn't have as many eye boogers. All right. "How many cats?" he whispered as he walked backward into the kitchen. The dry food. This story is about me, or maybe inspired, not about you. Actually, as I started writing about the girlfriend that had talked this guy into getting cats, I was like, as I was trying to figure out the story, I was like, I don't want this to sound like I'm talking about Shelley, because it's not. But I didn't want to make Shelley into some kind of witch or something and give the wrong kind of message. but it's kind of where the story went. So I was kind of trying to figure out a way that it didn't sound like I was writing any resentment into anything, because of course it's not that big a deal. It's just a story. How would you name a cat if you got one? I'm telling her. Okay. I don't know. I had two cats as a kid when I was really little, and I named one Bo and the other Duchess. And then I got a cat for my then girlfriend, who became my wife, and so then I had a cat, and that one was named Socrates. And my wife then brought home a cat from a dumpster, which is why I told Armand there's never just one cat. And so I kind of had to put my foot down that we were done with cats. And that one was named Will. And then when we finally moved to South Carolina from Georgia, we had to give the cats away because we were moving into somebody's house who did not allow cats. So I was quietly thankful for that. And then we moved on. Jay will be staying in the newly renovated cat room during MondoCon, and then will never be heard from again. Speaking of having trouble breathing. The dry food crunched under his heels. Mark felt like it was a bad idea, but he turned away from those multiplying cats. He stared in shock. I am at my place. All right, the pantry door hung open and broken off its top hinge. Cats couldn't do that, could they? Several packages showed torn and chewed. There had to be at least 5 pounds of coffee scattered over the shelves and floor leading out of the open pantry. The large cat food bag lay open on its side and gutted, with the food scattered as far as the sliding glass back door. Other foil packages of soft treats lay open and empty in the rest of the mess. Ooh, caught. Mark used his phone to take pictures of all the damage around him and over the floors. He sent photos to Brandon with a little too much glee in his heart. Kaiju Poet, Jay, I gotta ask my dude, have you tried doing a man bun yet? No. I don't think that would be a good look for me. Also, no offense to anybody that has man buns. I just don't think that's particularly my lifestyle. Also, I think I've pushed Armand to his limit on the hair. My wife, Jenna jumps in to say I was just logging in to tell him I brought him food. Oh, goodness. We may be finishing right after this story. So we may not do the reading block today. Man bun for J equals unfriend. Hey, man, you got a cat. That feels like a bigger violation of like our unspoken agreements than a man bun. But I hear what you're saying. No man bun. I know you got to draw the line somewhere. All right. Let's say Mark paused on the last image. His heart raced and itchy sweat broke out across his back. He stepped out of the kitchen and looked into the shadows the picture had captured. It wasn't quite as dark in real life as it was in the image, but Mark could see that Brandon's office space off the living room was trashed. Dozens of glowing green eyes moved back and forth on top of the desk and from under it. One striped cat chewed on a cord. 2 others fought on top of the desk, knocking the keyboard into the floor and scattering fur and papers. He thought maybe he should break that up, but he didn't know where to begin. Looking back into the kitchen, he noticed all that scattered dry food was dry. What does that mean? Looking back into the kitchen, he noticed all the scattered dry food. I think I'm saying wasn't dry. That's some great writing, Jay. All this scattered dry food was dry. Oh, I'm terrible. I need to quit. Maybe go into filmmaking. Okay. Looking back into the kitchen, he noticed all the scattered dry food wasn't dry. The water bowl, only the one bowl, was turned over and spilled. He figured he should at least refill that. Another 2 cats hissed at him and ran away from where they licked at the spilled water. He picked up the bowl and turned on the faucet. A half-dozen cats jumped up onto the counter and fought one another to lap from the stream of water. Mark set the bowl aside on the counter, deciding he couldn't get to the water. He couldn't get say, threw all those animals to the water himself. All right. He then walked down the hallway and leaned in to turn on the water in the bathroom sink too. Sharp teeth broke the skin on the meaty part of his hand. I got an extra "the" in there. Between his thumb and finger. He jerked his hand back quickly, tearing the skin and sending the attacker flying. 3 more cats jumped from the dark bathroom and swatted at his legs. So we'll change that to "and." Mark considered turning on the water in the master bathroom too, but all those green eyes staring out from the bedroom freaked him out. His hand was bleeding pretty bad and dripping on the carpet. Mark clutched it to his chest as he made his way to the front door. Cats came out from every shadow and started lapping at the spots of blood. Mark cursed under his breath and prepared to run, but then the large striped shape passed in front of him from the dining room into the messy kitchen. The full-sized tiger gave a guttural, rumbling growl. His mouth dropped open as the striped tail flicked back and forth, still in his view from around the corner. Before he could process that, a lion with a full mane walked in a circle by the front door, sat down, and stared at Mark. Let's say over the tops of its massive paws. Okay, there we go. Mark walked a few steps backward, deeper in the house, before a wildcat scream behind him set him running forward. A cheetah bolted past his legs, giving him a painful swipe on the way. The tiger's massive paw swatted Mark off balance and sent him tumbling over the dining room table. A pride of smaller house cats scattered out of his path. All right, we got cat, glowing J face, cat, J as a skeleton, cat, and J with heart eyes. All right. I think that is practically a comic book of the story that we're telling right now. Good job, Tom. All right. Mark tore down the curtains and picked up a dining room chair. Say Mark tore down the curtains as he fell and picked up a dining room and picked up a dining room chair on his way back to his feet with the intention of shattering the glass. All right. That's Mary, who Jay will be sleeping with. Please call the ambulance for me. I'm having enough trouble breathing already. All right. He was pulled off his feet and dragged into the... I think I need to make that a new paragraph. No. Same paragraph. I'll leave it there. He was pulled off his feet and dragged into the middle of the living room where more of the big cats latched onto him. He screamed and screamed, but it did no good as the hungry animals tore him to pieces, staining the carpet from the hair-covered couch to the wall under the widescreen TV. As more and more of the smaller cats moved in to feed too. Fix that. A lion with blood-stained jowls stepped out of the frenzy, licking his dripping whiskers. The beast took a moment to swat a game system across the room. One by one, the larger cats slinked away, and the smaller pets had their fill. Over the next several hours, Mark, this is the guy's name, was reduced to bones, and eventually those were dragged away as well. Late that night, even though Brandon had fallen asleep beside her in a hotel room 3 states away, Sylvia entered through the front door. The only cat in the house at that point was little white Pester. He twinned himself between her feet as she surveyed the damage. "You did fine," she said as she scratched behind the cat's ears. There was a lot of work ahead of her, but the task had been completed at least. Let's say the important part of the task had been completed at least. She left out the damaged toys but cleaned up everything else. As she ran her hand over the carpet to be sure no sign of Brandon's old friend Mark remained, she pocketed his phone, knowing she would need to dispose of that before anyone found him missing. She thought she might have times... No, that doesn't need to be plural. She thought she might have time since Brandon was really the only one who kept up with Mark these days. Just like many things in life, she knew Brandon would get over his absence in time. She would see to that.